Big news coming down on Thursday night about UFC 303 as Conor McGregor has been ruled out of the event due to an injury. Let's talk about it. We're going to do it with a sports betting analyst for the New York Post and combat sports enthusiast. My guy Erich Richter joins us now. Erich, what's going on, man?
Dex, appreciate you having me. This has been a crazy week for combat sports fans. Not a great week, but a crazy week. Entertaining, to say the least.
Entertaining, and you were able to give a lot of details on this and broke some of this news as it came out. Obviously, Dana White broke the news, but you got a lot of details that were put out there on nypost.com. And Erich, can you give us a quick overview of Conor McGregor's injury, how it came about, and how significant is this injury in terms of McGregor's career? Are we looking at a potentially career-ending situation, or is this something he's going to be able to bounce back from easily?
So let's dive into it a little bit, right? So Michael Chandler calls out Conor McGregor 2022. Conor had a snapped leg in July 2021 against Dustin Poirier, right? So he snaps his leg, long recovery process. Conor had a really hard time with rehab. Sources close to the Post said that he had to take himself out of the USADA testing pool just to get on certain medications that could help him recover, because at one point that was a career-threatening injury. Many people thought that he would never compete again. Fast forward a couple years, Conor does Roadhouse. Conor is building, a legacy media brand, entertainment world. I mean, he's doing all this kind of stuff. And Conor is in a situation where he doesn't need to fight. And, he wants to fight. So Chandler calls him out. He accepts the Chandler fight. He does the Ultimate Fighter. And things are trending in the right direction. The UFC promotion themselves spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of resources getting this fight together, and then also getting a press conference set for the UFC to have it in Dublin with Chandler there. And then, the word is that Conor, if he was seen partying with his fiance on July 27th, that is unrelated to the Dublin press conference. People close to McGregor say that this is an injury that happened within the 24-hour time period of when the press conference was supposed to happen. And, they're in a situation now where they had to cancel the press conference. There was a lot of momentum after they canceled it. Say it was grim, and then it was looking better. Okay. It was an injury. It is not a career-threatening injury. I cannot divulge the injury, obviously, for competitive purposes. With Chandler, he might know, but I'm not going to be the one to tell him. And that's the situation. It's not a career-threatening injury. It's if the fight was scheduled for July, I would say that this fight would actually probably still be on. So now the UFC scrambles. They are looking to rebook the fight as soon as they can, probably making their own event for Conor McGregor. An event that does not currently exist will likely pop up here in the next couple months.
All right, that's going to be interesting to see. We'll get back to that a little bit later. But given his star power, what impact does McGregor's absence have on UFC's 303, the overall card for UFC 303? Are there any plans for a replacement fight or fighter for UFC 303?
So the UFC knew that this fight wasn't going to happen on Tuesday, and that it was more or less a foregone conclusion as of Tuesday. That's when I had learned that the fight was off. Obviously, I could not report it, that UFC was unable to confirm, so that is not something that you can report. But that was the word, was that the fight was off on Tuesday. From Tuesday till Friday, the UFC was attempting to build a new main event and basically a new fight card, right? The fight card was kind of not great. Besides Conor, but since Conor is so big, that's going to draw no matter what anyway. It doesn't matter what the rest of the card looks like. It could be you and me in there fighting Dexter and still get buys. So Conor was out on Tuesday. We knew it was all but certain that he was not going to be fighting. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they were negotiating with Alex Pereira, Yuri Prochazka. They're also offering fights to Charles Oliveira, offering fights to Max Holloway. They're offering fights to all of these fighters. And, Alex Pereira was in Australia on a media tour. Alex Pereira has a broken toe. And, the guy's just a warrior. He's going to step in and fight Yuri Prochazka on 2 weeks' notice because the guy's an absolute savage. And, that's where we're at now. In terms of buying power, I mean, it's going to be, an average card at best. McGregor's card would have drawn massively. And, that's where the UFC's at. They stand to lose millions of dollars with this. Eventually, Conor will fight, so they'll probably make up for it on the back end. But, yeah, I mean, they stand to lose upwards of $20 million with Conor not fighting, probably more.
That's a big number right there. Huge loss for the UFC and obviously fans who were expecting to see McGregor fight at UFC 303. I got to ask you this because this is your bag, sports betting perspective here. How has McGregor's withdrawal affected the betting lines and odds or money placed for UFC 303?
Yeah, I mean, just for me personally, I had a bunch of bets. I was betting on Conor McGregor. I thought he was going to win, and there's a lot of money coming in on this fight. It's obviously going to be a massive card for DraftKings, for FanDuel, for all of those. All my bets were voided as of today, and that's a bummer because I, wanted to bet on Conor McGregor, and I wanted to see him fight. For the sports books, it's a loss of revenue. For the sports books, a lot of money comes in on McGregor. If you remember when he fought Dustin Poirier right there in the third fight with Poirier, Conor was gaining 97% of the action against Dustin Poirier. He is a massive, massive star. 97% of the action is wild. And something that you never see, not even with like Caitlin Clark stuff on a straight money line. The sharp money was on Poirier. The line moved towards Poirier despite the money being on Conor. It's because there was a lot of casuals coming in and betting Conor. So the reality is the sportsbooks stood to make or lose if Conor won, make or lose a lot of money.
Yeah, so much money involved in terms of the betting and a lot of money, as you said, coming in on McGregor. Got to ask you this about interest, because with McGregor not having fought since 2021, do you think the interest in seeing him return to the octagon will still be high among MMA fans after this injury setback? Do you expect the demand to still be there whenever he does, and if he does, return to the octagon?
So so Conor himself is in a tough spot. And I interviewed Audie Attar, who's Conor McGregor's agent. You can check that out on my Twitter. You can check that out on YouTube. A lot of people watched it. It's a very interesting interview because Audie basically told me that Conor is in a place where he needs to focus on fighting. He needs to focus on the cardio, the work. He needs to be training 3 times a day, just like every other fighter. Otherwise, he's going to lose. So in terms of drawing power, yeah, he will always draw, but he needs a win. He hasn't won in a long time. He hasn't gotten a win since Donald Cowboy Cerrone pre-COVID, right? So it's been a long time since he's won a fight. He needs to get a dub. And, I guess he probably could have fought slightly compromised. This is not a major injury, but he needs a win more than anything. So he's in a spot where he's better off waiting and getting a dub at full health, because if he loses this one, you might as well just retire. You can't even sell a title fight. You can't even sell a big time fight if he loses this one. Chandler is a good fighter. He's not a great fighter. He's never going to win a title in the UFC. He almost did, but at this point in his career, it's not happening. And this is a great building block fight with Chandler, who has a lot of defensive problems, we'll say, striking. It's a perfect fight for Conor. Conor is a sniper. He's gonna hit you, and Chandler has his hands low. He's never been very good with striking defense, and this is a good spot for Conor. So drawing power, he needs to win, and they know it. That's why they're pushing this fight back.
Yeah, they know what the stakes are for him. As you mentioned, a win could propel him to whatever the next fight would be and could possibly have a chance at a title fight, and that's what the kind of level that he's competed at and what he'd like to see. So it's very important for him to be 100% healthy, no doubt. But disappointing news for MMA fans as Conor McGregor is out of UFC 303, which will go down in Vegas on June 29th. That is Erich Richter, sports betting analyst for the New York Post. Also wrote a great story about this with the people he talked to surrounding Conor McGregor's injury. Erich, appreciate the time. Thank you so much. We'll talk again soon, man.
Appreciate you, Dexter. Thanks for having me on, as always.